real Jets, so we're built for this shit.
The passion's real. Tune in every week, don't miss a snap. It's the Jets group chat pod bringing the facts. So grab your gear, let's hit the air. Jets Nation's calling, we'll meet you there. Matt, Jerry, Dennis, PJ, and Nick on track. It's the Jets group chat pod.
All right, welcome in once again, ladies and gents, to the Jets Group Chat podcast. I'm joined tonight just by handsome Jerry Spiga. How we doing tonight, brother?
Doing good, man. Doing real good. Getting ready for Monday night.
Yeah, apparently you're going back to back here. You know, the Jets opened up with 2 straight home games up here at MetLife that obviously Dennis and I got to go to, and you down in Florida, you don't get a chance to go to many Jets games, as obviously you had to give up your season tickets a few years ago when you moved down to Florida. So if you're lucky, you get over to Miami maybe once a year. But you got to go to Tampa last week with little Spiga, and now you're telling me you're going now to Miami Monday night in primetime. So back-to-back weeks for you going to Jet games. How
baby. I'm super pumped. Like you said, leaving, the season tickets with my brother on the table when we left Florida was rough, and it sucks not seeing them, as frequently as we did when we were, back home in New Jersey. But getting back to back, man, and getting to see my boy Baker, even though he beat us up a little bit, it was good to see that. And then shout out Kristen, cousin of the pod, giving me her season tickets to the Dolphins to see the Jets game. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be exciting. It's good for G2, for little Gerard, to go see these games. I don't want him to lose his Jet fandom. Misery loves company, so I need someone on my side to be miserable with. But dude, Tampa was a blast, man. And that was one of the first away games that I've been to where the fans were like super, super open. There was a shit ton of Jet fans. I'll be honest. I was surprised going through the parking lot and seeing as many as I saw, and everyone was kind of
there's so many transplants though, right? Like Florida's all transplanted New Yorkers to begin with, but you got to believe all those but I feel like it's even changed. Like look at you, you're a younger guy now. You moved.
There's a lot of younger people down here now too.
I feel like it's happening more and more now as it's gotten super expensive here to live in New Jersey, and pay sucks here. Like a lot of people either work remotely now, or they're just all together, just ditching the cost of living up here and going down to Florida. And it seems like it's used to be like, oh, when you retired in your 60s, you moved down to Florida. But
now everyone's coming down.
Now everyone's coming down. Florida is kind of getting saturated with a bunch of the Northerners, coming down. So I guess it isn't all that shocking to see so many Jet fans down there. But the Tampa fans were cool. Everybody was invited.
Tampa was cool. Like everybody's passing out beers. Everyone was kind of just like, oh, hang out on my tailgate. Where are you from? Oh, you live around here? It was cool. It was a great vibe. And I got to be honest, that stadium is real cool. Raymond James Stadium with the Buccaneers, like the Buccaneer Cove, I think it's called, and the ship. Dude, but they every point, I think at the end of every half, I want to say pretty much almost every first down, every big play, they blow that cannon. So it gets a little overkill, but dude, it was a great vibe. It was fun. It was cool. We were fortunate enough to sit like we're on the third row, like the 30-yard line behind the Jets, Jets bench. So it was cool. Bro, you don't realize how big these motherfuckers are. They're big. We know that. But dude, Braylon Allen is a shit house. He is huge.
Yeah. You don't realize, like you said, until you're that close to them. And he looks big on TV to begin with, right?
Yeah,
so
imagine you go right next to him. But it was fun. It was good. We actually were right where McDonald blocked the kick and returned it against that sideline. That's right where we were.
Oh, man.
That was cool to see. And again, I didn't have my phone or anything on it, so no pictures to it. But we were feeling it, we were loving it. Me and G were bouncing around. But immediately, I looked at the scoreboard and I was like, too much time.
That was exactly my reaction.
But it was funny too, because I had a fan. I mentioned to you in the group chat. There was a guy actually near us who follows us, saw the hat, recognized us. He was like, "Oh, really?" It was cool. So we were chatting for a little bit, because of the logo, because I had that hat on. He was sitting behind us. He left about 2 minutes before the block kick. Shout out, I forget his name, but he was wearing a white throwback Aaron Glenn jersey. Cool dude. Leaves, after everyone's celebrating, you see him sprinting down the stairwell back to his seats,
Oh, so
high-fiving
he came
everybody.
back after
Oh,
he
he
dipped.
came back. He came right
Oh,
back.
good for him.
Yeah, but it was cool. It was fun. A lot of Jet fans in our section. I wish we could have pulled it out, but again, looking at the time, defense couldn't hold it, man. You left too much time, whether it's Brady, whether it's Baker, whether it's anybody. I feel like we just need to learn how to close out.
Yeah, I was at the bar with Kimberly, my buddy Michael, and Dennis was with us, and we were there for the whole game. And obviously, there was a little bit over 2 minutes, I think, or right around 2 minutes
Just under 2 minutes
when McDonald blocked the punt and took it back to the house. And right when that drive had started, they were moving, and Dennis was like, "I'm getting out of here. Like, I'm out. Like, he's gonna make the kick." Two possessions.
It's iced. It's over. Yeah.
Yeah. So Dennis actually left, like, as that drive started, left the bar. And so they set up to, and it's crazy because the Eagles had just done exactly that, like 30 seconds to a minute beforehand. And a lot of the people at the bar where I was were all Eagles fans. So the place erupted, the place is going nuts. And obviously, I'm like, shit like that never happens to the Jets, right? Like, we don't turn the ball over, any fumble, we don't fall, like nothing dramatic in the way of like positives ever falls our way, right? So maybe he'll miss it, but like you're not blocking that and taking that back to the house.
You're not house calling
happens
it.
once
No.
a decade if you're lucky. And so it happens. Like the McDonald shoots through, he blocks it, he takes it back or whatever, and just jumping up and down. All the Eagles fans get super excited for us that had just happened. And so as he's in the end zone, I called Dennis and I'm like, dude, they blocked the field goal. And he's like, what? I'm like, dude, they set up to kick the field goal and we blocked it and took it back for a touchdown. He's like, oh shit. He's like, I gotta pull over and like watch the end of this somewhere. And then same thing as you though. Once like the high of that moment came back, like goes to commercial and they come back and I'm like, fuck,
it's man, a lot of fucking time
on the clock. And you just knew that exactly how it played out was going to happen. And it also just sucks the way that the rules are now in the NFL with like the kickoff. Like you pretty much get the ball at the 40-yard line, like to start almost every.
If you're a decent offense, you're getting a field goal pretty much almost on every
yeah.
drive.
And it's just like so disheartening when you're in situations like that where your defense, all they really needed to do was you get 2 first downs and you pretty much are guaranteed a field goal attempt that's manageable.
Right.
And even in this day and age, the kickers are so goddamn good. A manageable field goal is
60.
a 58 to 60 yarder. It seems like guys are drilling those on regularity at this point.
It's almost like you get to midfield, man. You're in field goal range. Like Brandon Aubrey for the Cowboys, you get him near the logo at center field. He's making it. He's got a shot to make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just incredible. So you knew once that drive was, I think they started at the 35 or somewhere right around there. You just knew that they were up against it. The way Baker is elusive and moves around in the pocket,
and what he was doing all game, it all game.
And you just knew that Sauce had been out for a period with concussion-like symptoms. Quincy Williams was already out for the game. Jermaine wasn't playing that game. So, like, you already knew the deck was stacked against them. They had a lot of younger players in, guys that maybe shouldn't even be playing. And, of course, that first pass, they hit it down the field, and you're already like, this is our, like, first play of the drive. You're already like,
you're like, oh, here it is. But I got to be honest. I will say one thing, that I thought we had a little bit of the football god shining down on us when Baker threw that fucking perfect laser to Igbuka down the sideline, and they called it out of bounds. First off, that's a catch. I was there. I saw it. It was weird how nobody was reviewing it. Like, they kept showing it on. I know it's under 2 minutes. I know you can't, like, the coach can't review it. But, like, it was clear as day on the Jumbotron. They're going slow. They're zooming in. I'm like, he clearly has 2 feet in bounds. And then when they just went back to running another play, it was almost like, are we on the right side of the fix this time?
Yeah.
Is this like a Jets cover? Like everyone had money on the Bucks? But of
Because
course, no.
even on the flip side, before they blocked the punt, the Lazard touchdown,
Not a touchdown. Not a 100% not a
I don't
touchdown
think it
either.
was either. I don't think it was either. It was super close. I had to lean toward, but when they like in the moment, I'm like, oh, that's a touchdown. And they showed it a couple times. I'm like, no, it's a touchdown. But then they like changed the angle, and as
You're
he
like,
was coming down, like
ooh.
Jordan, I'm like, oh fuck. I'm like,
But again, and then they
so
call
once
it.
that went our way, and then we blocked the punt, score the touchdown,
I was like,
didn't
ooh,
even
okay.
review the Ibuka catch. I'm like, maybe the gods are smiling down today. Like the gods hanging out in Tampa today. But of
But
course,
no,
no such
no.
luck. And of course, what happened. We don't have to kind of revisit blow by blow. But you just kind of knew that the defense was going to let them down. And once again, now it's concerning, man. Three games into the year, I was excited about the Steve Wilkes hire. Obviously, Aaron Glenn has a defensive background, but I'm officially worried about the defense, man. Like
Me
I
too.
thought the first game was just like fool's gold. Buffalo's Buffalo, especially this week. You know, the Tampa Bay had a banged up offensive line. Mike Evans didn't play most of the second half, and you know, Abuka's a rookie, but like I don't know, it was a really disheartening performance again. You
Another
give up
winnable game that
29.
they just didn't show up.
Yeah, you give up close to 30 points. You've given up 30 points or more in the first two games. Give up 29 in week 3. So I mean, you're giving up just about 30 points or more a week.
Right.
And I give the offensive credit. The offense has been in the position to win 2 of those games, even with giving up 30 points. So it just speaks to where the offense has gone. And we could get into like why they played well in the second half. Tampa was kind of took their foot off the
Full
gas a little
throttle,
bit, I
yeah.
think, in the second half. But
But it
the
goes to that same theme that we talked about last year and what we wanted to see in the beginning of this year. We still can't have a full, well-rounded, consistent game. The offense, week 1, came to play. Lights out. All the defense had to do was get 1 or 2 stops, catch one of those 2 interceptions, do anything.
yeah,
Couldn't do it. You lose the game. As you said, Buffalo's Buffalo. What are you going to do? Probably going to be either in or around the Super Bowl, sniffing around the Super Bowl this year. Whatever,
right.
it's Josh Allen. But like this was a winnable game. Baker's good, but Baker's not a world beater. Their whole offensive line was hurt. Their defense had a lot of injuries.
They didn't have Mike Evans in the second half.
Mike Evans walked off the field after limping and walked right to the locker room. He wasn't coming back. You had every opportunity to take this game and sneak it away. Granted, the offense was a little lackadaisical. I don't know if it was because Tanner didn't trust Tyrod too much. They didn't throw the ball down the field much. It just looked like a very vanilla offense, which was stopped right out of the gate. But they stepped up. They tried. They worked hard towards the end, clawed back. The other side of the ball failed you. It was just like you couldn't get that 1 or 2 big play or the well-rounded game where, ooh, they played well. We won that one. Here, this one, it was just like we were lucky to be in the game to begin with at the end, but still, make a stop. Do anything, and that game's yours.
Yeah, and it's just a variety of factors. They're losing on defense in a bunch of different ways. It's not like they're getting just beaten in the air, beaten on the ground. They're getting beat. One, there's no pass rush. They have no pass rush whatsoever. Obviously, you're missing Jermaine Johnson right now, which is huge. Will McDonald is Will McDonald. That's the only guy you got. But when you know that's the only guy you got, you could scheme it up to kind of stop him.
They were double teaming Q, and he was still making his way to the backfield. There's only so much
Williams is the game wrecker right now, and I think Sunday at Tampa was one of the best games Quinnen Williams has had. He looked like the best defensive tackle. I mean, he might be the best defensive tackle in football, but he looked it on Sunday. He was unblockable. He looked like he was the best defensive player in the league on Sunday. He was all over. Hell of a game for Q. But again,
the secondary is a problem, and linebacker now is thin with injury.
Right. So you can't cover on the boundary. Sauce is doing what Sauce can do. You know, he's had an up and down. He had a great week 1, not so great week 2. I thought Sunday was a mixed bag in week 3. He had some good moments, not so great moments. But I mean, when you look at the defense in totality, I think Sauce Gardner is the least of your worries. You know, there's 7, 8, 9 things you bring up before you're worried about Sauce Gardner. And I know now he has a big target on his back with the $30 million a year paycheck, and he's got to step up. He's got to make plays. He's got to do more. I get it. You want to see the interceptions. You want to see the tackling improve. I totally get it. But when you're you're talking just the way they play week to week. I think Sauce is way at the bottom of things you have to worry about. I think one is the pass rush because there isn't one, and you're at the point now where you're starting Michael Clemens every week, which is
Not a good spot.
Michael Clemens is not a rosterable football player. Michael Clemens should not be on the Jets. He probably should not be on a roster in the NFL. Nonetheless, starting every single week, and it flabbergasts me that, and it's one of my. I don't have many gripes with Aaron Glenn thus far. I'm a big fan. I'm a fan of what he's doing, where I think he's going to take this team eventually. But he's spoken about accountability since the day he walked in the building, and for the most part, he's backed that up. He said if you're not making plays that's going to help this team win, you're not going to play. And so, week one, Xavier Gipson fumbles the punt, effectively cost the Jets a win in week one. 2 days later, he's off the team. Brandon Stevens gets torched. He's been benched a couple times already. He didn't play a lot in the second half. You saw they brought Ezra Thomas in. So, he's trying to mix it up now. Now they even trade for another corner. We're going to get into that now. So, when they recognize guys aren't getting the job done, they've been Arian Smith on Sunday got pulled off the field after the first drive because he missed the block. I don't even really remember him seeing on the field the rest of the game after that. And so, for the most part, he's done a great job of staying true to his word. If guys are making penalties, if they're not performing well, they're not going to play. They're going to come in and out of the lineup. It baffles me that now 2 weeks in a row that Michael Clemens has had bonehead, face mask, personal foul, roughing, whatever they
and
are.
just bad assignments. He's just not in the right place to make plays. It's not even bonehead stupid. It is that. But he has
no pressures. He has
no
no
field awareness.
He's got no tackles for losses. He's not doing anything. He's a net negative. He's an automatic 15-yard penalty, almost at least one or two every game. And there's no repercussions for that. He's back in the starting lineup every week. And I know that's just a testament to the Jets don't really have another
out of necessity.
But there's got to be somebody else. I think that falls on Darren Muji for being ill-equipped.
But to that point, so here's my thing with the Muji thing, because I do want to make sure we give credit where credit's due. He's brought in people when there has been a recognized weakness. We were really, really thin up front in the middle, immediately brought in Biggs and Phillips, right? Same thing. Stevens is starting to show that he might not be what they thought to bring him in for. Boom, they trade for JBJ. I feel that there's part of it where he's trying to make adjustments to weed out some of that old regime talent and bring in some of his new guys. But there are pass rushers out there on the waiver wire. I mean, not waiver wire, on the fantasy football talk, on the free agent heap. They're there. They're available. There's something. Why are we showing allegiance to Michael Clemens when he has done nothing to earn himself, like I said, not playing time, a spot on this team?
And he's not even their draft pick. He's a solid guy. He's a Joe Douglas guy. It's old regime. I feel like they did a good job early in their tenure of cleaning out guys who had the stink of the old regime.
Right.
The losing ways, the losing mentality. These issues aren't new for Michael Clemens. He's been making bonehead, off-ball penalties after the play penalties for 3 years now. So this isn't something that's new or hasn't been on tape for years now.
Right.
And yeah, I get it. Muji's been quick to pivot and make moves to fill holes. But my problem is those holes were always there. We all knew that these holes that he's filling now on the fly were deficiencies that they had in March that are still deficiencies now.
We also knew it wasn't going to get built in one day. And we said that a while ago. And I really do think they're moving the team in the right direction. They're weeding out some of those old guys, as you mentioned, who may not be the right character fit, might be not the right intensity fit. They're trying to weed those guys out. And they are bringing in young, talented players to try to fill out that roster. They made some good draft picks this year, but I do feel like there's a lot more work that still needs to get done. And this is going to have to be like a 2-3 year process. Whereas at the beginning of the year, we thought, we do have some pleas. We could stay healthy. We could do this. We'll be all right. But even Fashanu's showing some growing pains this year. I mean, Membu's been rock solid on the right side, but I wouldn't say that Olu's been a world beater on the left side. He looks like he above average, but the line was a liability in Tampa Bay. 100%. Myers needs to go somewhere. They were up in the middle, making pressure through the middle all game. Move Tippmann back to center, and you got to look anywhere for another guard. I don't know, but they've got to do something because now what we started the season as a strength now it looks to be somewhat of a little bit of a liability on offense. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I feel like that's a unit that's had their moments. They looked like the best offensive line in football week 1 against the best pass rusher in football. So like,
yeah,
it shows you that they have the potential to be good, but I'd say they're consistently inconsistent is I think a way
Jet's
to
gonna jet.
Yep, that feels like the theme of the entire roster, most position groups on the roster. Again,
But-
when you're talking about the list of the Jets' problems, offensive line is, for me it's 6, 7. Like I worry about corner more, I worry about wide receiver
Safety,
more,
tackling
I worry about
more.
pass rusher more, I worry about safety more.
And one thing Jet Twitter has to calm down about. Aaron Glenn is not one of my worries either. I'll be honest. The intensity that he's showing in the fight
to be determined, right? Like we still don't know. We haven't seen anything. The way I look at it, and you could look at this situation one of two ways. You're like the same old Jets were forever fucking cursed. This is never going to turn around. This is what we are. We're doomed for eternity, living in the depths of mediocrity. Or you could look at it glass half full, where, like you said, it does feel. If you're a fan like you and I are, a little bit more than your average fan that is on Twitter all day, you're watching every snap, you're following every transaction from the practice squad to every, like, we have a pretty good pulse of the team. It does feel like things are changing culture wise,
right.
I choose to look at it that way. Like the things are changing. The glass is half full. The way I'm looking at it now going into week 4 is the Jets are 0-3. I think we all thought that was a distinct possibility of happening when the schedule came out. I don't think it's a shock that they're 0-3. You have to look at it. They've played 3 playoff teams. 2, maybe 3 of them are all projected to make pretty deep runs in the playoffs this year. They were all in the playoffs last year. Tampa Bay and Buffalo particularly. I mean, Buffalo's picked to go to the Super Bowl. Tampa Bay could probably go to the championship game and play
easily
hard against anybody. So, like,
that's right.
But unquestionably, you've played 3 playoff teams from a year ago that are all improved or better than they were a year ago. And you should conceivably be 2-1 going into a week 4.
I was going to say 2 of those games were a 1-possession game, and
Correct.
Besides stupid mistakes, they're winnable games.
Yeah, so you could conceivably be 2-1 going into primetime against an 0-3 Miami team to pretty much drive the stake in their heart and move to, you could be moving to 3-1 with a win this week.
But even go ahead.
In this instance, you're 0-3 going against an 0-3 team, and now there's a possibility if things don't break your way, you're 0-4, and now the world is falling apart. I choose to look at it the other way. That
right, and
you're a player 2 away from being 2-1. And potentially now 3-1 if you play well on Monday night.
But the good news is the schedule gets easier. Like you get put into a position where, like, yeah, this was worst case scenario, but this is where we are. But you look at Dolphins, winnable game. Cowboys look like absolute shit, and you're probably going to go against them without CeeDee Lamb. Broncos, who knows if you got a really good defense, but again, their offense hasn't really impressed me. Then you got Panthers, a Joe Burrow-less Bengals, the Browns, Patriots, and then the first real team you're seeing again is the Ravens. Yeah. And that's right before Thanksgiving. So it's just as easily as we saw that they're 0-3, we could easily see them turn around and be 4-3.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think the goal at this point, given the next five or 6 games, when you just went through the schedule, I think the goal is, you got to start with a win on Monday night. Nothing turns around without beating a beat up, kind of beleaguered, demoralized Miami team. Mike McDaniel feels like he's hanging on by a thread.
See for sure.
You have to kind of beat up that team. A division rival. It's a division game. Aaron Glenn, you're trying to get him his first win. That would have some meaning to him, winning a division game against a team that,
on the road too.
The Jets have to win that game. It's not. I wouldn't say it's a must win.
It's a gotta win
for them to go anywhere, but like, just for the culture, the morale of the team. If you're going to go on a little bit of a run here and make this interesting, it has to start on Monday night. But assuming that happens, they could come out with a win on Monday. I mean, I don't think it's inconceivable to look at their schedule moving ahead. And again, I don't really like doing that because anything could happen any
Right.
given week. But I mean, I think there's a distinct possibility if you fast forward to the end of October, the Jets could be 4-4, and then who the fuck knows what happens the next 2 months of the season. But at least you're going into November at 500, and you have football to look forward to beyond. Usually, we're mailing it in by the second week of
Yeah.
October.
You got meaningful football after that.
Yeah, we're usually looking at draft profiles and mock drafts in like week 6. So I think, given the start, if somebody told you right now that the Jets would be 4-4 going into week 9 or week 10 in the first week of November, I think most fans would have gladly signed up for that in week 1, not knowing what the outcomes would have been in these
Right.
other. So I think there it is set up schedule wise to go on a run. They've played well enough to win in 2 out of these 3 of these games. They just couldn't close. And I think that only just plays into now there is a softer landing to this schedule now where they're not playing a playoff team back to back to back. They're going to have teams that are, I think, a combined like 9 and 20 or something coming up. So,
but you got to turn around somewhere. It's got to start with a win. So you got to go to Miami, take care of business, and then on to the next week. That's it. That's the only bit by bit is the only way this is going to work.
Yeah, and it's going to be, it's they're down, but I mean they can still score at the drop of a dime. Tyreek Hill is still dangerous. Jalen Waddle is still dangerous. Achane could run the ball. Defense, I think, is a diminished version of what it used to be, and we're used to it being for them the last couple of years. But
right,
I mean, they could still. Again, it's going to come down to the defense again. Can we hold somebody under 20 1 week? Can we keep it under 30? That I think that's going to be the key. I also think an issue that the Jets have had that really is an underrated thing that I don't think a lot of people have really brought up yet because there is so many other issues with the team is I think we've talked ad nauseum that the identity of this team is going to be running the ball.
Yeah.
But they haven't been able to run the ball. And so when you're a team that, I think we both agreed when we were like previewing the season in August that if this team was going to go anywhere and make any kind of noise this year, it was going to be to run the ball down the opponent's throat and be a top 5, 7, 10 defense. You have to be a top 10 defense and you have to run the ball if they're going to do anything this year. And so far, they're arguably one of the worst defenses in the league, and they're not running the ball.
No.
And so when what your identity is or what you want to say your identity is not your identity, I guess you call that an identity crisis, right? Like what are they? If they can't run the ball and if they're not going to play defense, there's not really a path for success.
No.
That
I think they got to get back to what they did week 1. And I know not having Fields this week kind of diminished that a little bit, but I mean you got to get back to sprinkling in a lot more air raid attack. I mean don't throw bombs, but you got to throw some short intermediate throws in there and get some play action going. Didn't really see too much of it, and everything they did they telegraphed. Like that pick 6 just before the half.
Killer.
He's staring at Garrett Wilson the whole time. I saw it. I could have picked it off from row 3. So I think you got to get back to what they do best, get back to basics, move Fields if he plays. Hopefully, I know he's still in concussion protocol.
It sounds like he's trending. I'd be surprised if he doesn't play. I
got to run the ball. Get him mobile, get him moving, get some play action, and Breece and Braylon's got to get going. That's it. There's nothing else you could say. Breece, I think, ran the ball relatively well. I mean, they stacked the box on us. There's not really much you could do because they knew the run was coming. But hopefully, the Tanner Anstrand offense, if playbook opens up a little bit more like we saw in week 1, and I think that's really the only way they're going to come away with a victory here. They really got to start sprinkling in a lot more runs, but a little bit more play action RPOs.
Yeah. My concern is that the personnel is what the personnel is, and we've known what the personnel was going to be since June, and we've known that they weren't going to have a wide receiver 2. We knew people were going to pay extra attention to Garrett and take him out of the game. Everybody knows that the Jets want to run the ball, so they're stacking the box and they can't run the ball. They don't have a second option to pass the ball, and so Engstrand, Engstrand was in his bag week 1. He schemed it up to kind of overcome that.
Get your tight ends involved. Rucker looks serviceable, and get Mason Taylor out there.
My fear though now is Engstrand did what he did week 1. Now there's no tape on Engstrand. There's no tape on what he wanted to do. There's tape now on Tanner Engstrand. There's tape on what the Jets want to do. Buffalo watched that tape. They squashed everything that they wanted to do. Tampa Bay watched that tape. Granted, you didn't have Justin Fields, so you're kind of scheming up a different way. There's no mobility there to keep defenses honest. But again, for the most part, they took away exactly what the Jets wanted to do.
Right.
And so my fear is now I think the onus is on Tanner Engstrand to figure this thing out. Beyond the personnel is what the personnel is. It's not a great offensive unit.
But we knew that. Yep.
But it's going to be up to him to figure out how to get guys open, how to scheme Garrett Wilson open, how to get the tight ends open. I mean, they talked a lot about all these tight ends over the summer. Even, Mason Taylor used a premium pick on him. He hasn't looked great when he's been on the field, but he hasn't been on the field a lot. Stone Smart, I don't even know that I've seen him on the field.
I don't think I've seen him out there
at any point. And then you claim the guy Woods from Indianapolis, thinking you're going to need another tight end. Like, he seems like a serviceable guy. I don't even know that he's been active at this point. And so, like, they're not utilizing the tight ends like I thought I would expect them to.
Right.
They're really not getting Brees involved in the passing game, which I think if you're going to, since that week 1 game where he looked like, he looked like Saquon Barkley, we're like, this is exactly how you have to use Brees Hall. They haven't really tried to utilize him in that way. It just feels like he's been more of a, we're going to hand you the ball and
make something happen.
Yeah. Like, instead of like splitting him out wide or putting him across the middle for streaks or scrambles or screen passes. We really haven't seen that since week 1. And I just think that the weapons that you do have, which are few and far between, you're not seeing them being utilized the right way. Even Arian Smith, like, he's barely seeing the field. I know his route tree is very limited at this point, and he has dropped.
Bad drop too.
But like, you got to put him out there. Just let him run a go route once or twice a game. Like, speed kills in the NFL. If you're lacking weapons, and if somebody's doubling Garrett on one side, you're going to have single coverage for a guy that's a burner. I mean, we saw Fields could throw a deep ball. Try it twice. Yeah. Like, you got to get creative. And I just feel I was super impressed with Engstrand out of the gate in week 1. I liked everything that he did. And again, they were a defensive stop or a play here, a play there away from winning that game. But due large in part to because the offense was able to be creative, and we saw some things that we haven't seen in a while. But
looking at the glass half full, like we talked about before, week 1 was week 1. Week 2, I'm going to be honest, I think Fields was concussed more of that game than they pulled.
That's fair.
I really think so. He didn't look right. The offense didn't look right. And again, Buffalo's Buffalo. I don't care whether they have a bottom defense and Ed Oliver didn't play or whoever else didn't play. It's Buffalo. Yeah. And then you're playing Tampa Bay, perennial Super Bowl team, but like an offensive, powerhouse, really. And you didn't have Fields. So maybe the offensive playbook is there, but he was just gun shy because he had his backup quarterback. Who knows? Yeah. But again, back to what we talked about, like, this is a new week. You got to start with a win somewhere. And if you're going to have relatively everybody outside of Jermaine Johnson and JBJ back, you got to start somewhere, and you got to open it up and let it fly.
What are your thoughts on we talked about Aaron Glenn a little bit, but what's your reaction to the it's big hot button topic here in New York this week, but obviously McDonald blocks the punt, he takes it to the house, and it's the video that's now gone viral 100 times over now. Glenn sprinting down the sidelines and breaking into a little bit of a jig, a little bit of a dance at the tail end. It's caught a lot of heat, and I don't really understand why.
Non-football fans, I'll be honest with you, it's passive Jet fans. You went from last year begging Robert Saleh to show emotion. Now you've got another. It's because they lost. I'm just going to say it's everyone's frustrated. Everyone's throwing shit against the wall. It's because they lost. They win that game. They love it. They say the Jets fire's back. We're back. New York state of mind, blah, 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 blah. I fucking love it. I want my coach to be fiery. I want him to yell at you when you do something wrong, and I want him to be your best friend when you do something right. And that's exactly what Aaron Glenn's been doing. And that's why I have confidence in him moving forward, because I really think culturally he's what this team needs. You can say what you say about the accountability thing, say what you say about why he's playing Clemens, things like that. But I feel like the fire and the passion that he's bringing to the news conferences, to the sideline, to practice, everything. That's what I want in a head coach. Period. I see nothing wrong with what he did. The only reason is it's because we lost. But that's on the defense. Steve Wilkes, not him.
Yeah, and I think you can't discount, the emotion of the moment. The Jets were out of that game.
I was jumping around.
You went from being you were going to go down. What was it? They were going to go down 9, right? I think at that point, or 10. Were they down by 6, or were they down by 7?
Down by 6. So you were dead in the water.
You were going to go down. You were going to go down 2 possessions. The game was essentially
to winning in 17 seconds.
And and so you went from going down 2 possessions, just trying to put points on the board to make it interesting, and maybe try for an onside kick if everything went well. You went from like that scenario to, holy shit, I'm winning in a game that I really have no business even
to a game people left bars or turned off.
Yeah. And so like in hindsight, you could say like, oh yeah, it looks bad because they lost, or like, oh, don't count your chickens before they hatch. But I don't think that's what he was doing. Like he wasn't celebrating. He's not celebrating a win. I mean,
and I don't mean it that way. I mean it like you said. The only reason it's a topic is because they lost. It wasn't like he was celebrating too early. The Jets lost. They dropped the ball. But like it's the same thing if we had a pick 6 on the opening drive.
Yeah, right.
You still want to show emotion
down and celebrate, right?
Yeah,
exactly. And so I didn't have a problem with it. I just think you don't know ball if you do have a problem with it. I thought it was great. And to your point, that's all we talked about for the last 2 years is like Saleh just looks like a corpse. Like somebody stole his soul. We went from seeing all these clips of him in San Francisco when he got the job,
with
screaming and pumping his fists, and that guy's back now that he's gone to San Francisco. I've seen him. I still keep track of what he's doing out in San Francisco, and his defense is buzzing, and he's going nuts on the sidelines again. So that guy's back.
Good for him.
But it just seemed like once he got that job, especially after the first season, he wasn't into it. His emotion,
it drained him.
He was drained. And
this city, this media, these fans, they can drain you, and that's why that's why Rex Ryan did well, especially when they're winning. You need a personality bigger than the city.
Yeah, so I'm glad to have seen it, and I'm glad he addressed it today. They asked him about it, like, do you have any regrets about it? And he's like, no, I don't have any regrets. Like, it's my authentic self. Like, yeah, like he goes, I wouldn't be doing me a service by not just being who I am. Like that's who I am. And it's probably not the first or the last time you're going to see it, Right. And I like that answer. He's comfortable in his own skin, and he's going to, show his players support when they do well. And we've seen him react when players have made bad plays where he's screaming and, grabbing guys by the shirt and pulling them off to the side. We've seen him pissed off. So it's he's holding guys accountable for the most part. And so you can't be mad at it.
No.
At least in my opinion, you could be pissed off about a lot of things.
That ain't one of them.
That's not at the top of my list. That's for sure. But I'm glad we're on the same page with that, because I know a lot of people have, gotten on him about it.
We'll look for anything to nitpick when we're losing.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to touch on, the Jets. The Jets did make a move yesterday, and we touched on it a little bit, but I guess a little bit of a surprising trade. I thought, if anything, maybe the Jets. I feel like every week if the Jets are going to make a move, we're expecting them to bring in another wide receiver, or we're expecting them to bring in another D tackle to get Clemens out. But the Jets now make a move and bring in Jarvis Brownlee Jr. from the Titans, who, I'll be honest, I didn't know a lot about, but I mean, since the move happened and I've, kind of looked into him, looked at his tape, I mean, he's not like an all-pro by any stretch, but this guy's been pretty much an exclusive starter since he came into the league last year. He's only in his second year, 5th round pick, and you get him for a late round swap. You get him in a 7 for a 6. And the Jets don't have a great history in drafting, as we can tell. And so even a guy that is a starting caliber player that maybe has flaws here or there, you usually can't even get that in the fifth. So I think the Jets are comfortable, with the capital that they
Hmm.
to get him. But I mean, this is a guy he's rated as the best corner in the league in terms of tackling ability. Maybe
That's
not
where
maybe not what you want out of a corner. You'd like him to be probably better in coverage. He seems like he's a middle of the road guy coverage wise.
he gets
Um,
penalty happy. He gets grabby and handsy when the ball's in the air. But the
sure,
biggest thing we touched on early on in the season was the tackling's been atrocious, especially
yeah,
from the DBs. Our safeties look like shit.
particularly Stevens. Stevens has been
Stevens
awful.
too. It
He
looks,
can't
and even
cover and he can't tackle.
exactly. So now you bring in a guy who is a short tackler, has a nose for the ball. You don't want to call him a headhunter because I don't mean it that way, but he looks for contact, which you love out of a football player. He's got that intensity. And you're rated off of what the other fans say when they lose a guy. How many times have we gotten in people like, oh, good luck with that guy. He sucks or he does this. I
Yeah,
saw more like negativity on the what is our front office doing? Why did we let him go? What are we trading him for? He's our number one corner than
yeah.
anything else.
I was I was chatting with my friends Tim and James that sit next to me in my seats at MetLife, and Tim was like, I can't believe these comments on Twitter that people he sent me like the Titans Twitter post when they announced the trade, and he's like, just look at these comments. And I don't think I saw one like not one comment was like positive. Every comment was like, we're doomed. Like, what are we doing? How are we making this trade? Like,
Just for a
and
late
again,
round swap. Yep.
at the time, like I read what I read, I watched what I watched, but like I don't know. To me, it's a depth, like it's more of a depth move in my head. I mean, does it turn out to be more than that? I mean, that'd be fucking
I have a
awesome.
thought. I think it is.
Um,
I think it's
I
Michael Carter's replacement.
could be. I mean, he's just got inked to a big deal, though. It's hard to move off of him after a year.
But again, an old regime signing.
I
I don't.
guess.
Aaron Glenn doesn't like small corners, and he's been getting beat up so far this year. I could see JBJ becoming your new nickel. You got Thomas and Sauce on your outsides, and then I mean, if you keep Stevens around,
Yeah,
move him
I mean,
into
eventually. I
safety.
mean, the guy still has 2 more years after. I mean, you essentially have the guy under control at no money for 3 years. So, I mean,
If you don't try to move him,
if he's your number 3 corner for the next 3 years, I think that's a great trade. You gave up a 6 round pick to get a starting caliber corner. Even if he's league average, I'd take a league average production out of a corner for a
over
six
our past 6th and 7th round picks who are out
who
of
are
the
usually
league the
who are
next year.
usually off the roster by the time training camp breaks and out
Exactly.
of the NFL within 2 years. So, I mean, the bar is super low, but I mean, I thought it was like a stealthy move. Again, like you said, Muji's done a good job of like bringing in these under the radar
Young
kind of
guys
guys who
identifying. Yep.
are starting caliber upgrades for this team and this particular junction where they are. I feel like this roster has talent, but the talent is very top heavy. Like you
Yep.
have 8, 9, maybe 10 very good players. I won't even call them great players. There's maybe 1, 2, 3 great players on this team. The rest are all, I'd say, good to above average players. But I mean, the bottom, 35, 40 guys on the roster,
Yep.
you're
Is a
hurting.
problem.
You're
The
hurting now.
bottom and the middle of this roster is a problem.
So, I mean, if you could just maximize the floor of the depth that you have, I mean, their number 3 corner is better today than it was on Sunday. Their D tackle room is better now than it was when camp broke by making the Phillips trade right before camp, broke. The Briggs trade, he's an upgrade over anything they had in the building going into the summer.
Yeah.
So just all these moves that they've made for like late round pick swaps or 6th or 7th round picks, they've maximized the floor of the depth on the roster. And I think he's going to continue to do that. I think he's going to continue to try to
To
be
tweak and
stealthy and
tinker.
opportunistic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do think though, like I'm not saying it's going to necessarily be mid season or even this year, but it feels like the longer that they go on without having like a good wide receiver 2 or a good starting caliber like edge rusher, I feel like there's a bigger move to be made down the line trade wise. And I think they're going to recognize that, whether it's like, swinging a deal for Chris Olave to reunite him with Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields, depending on what New Orleans ends up doing there, or somebody that's a good number 2 receiver that's going to have to get paid here fairly soon. I know it just feels like a deal eventually. No, and again, I don't even know that it's going to be before the deadline, because I think our hope is, we talked about before, the Jets are maybe 4-4 going into the trade deadline, but they could just as easily be 2-6, and you're not trading assets at 2-6.
Right.
So I think it very much depends if the Jets are in this thing at 4-4, or even 5-3 or something going into the trade deadline on I think it's Halloween or the day before Halloween, right at the end of October.
But that's what gives me the optimism moving forward. Like, again, like, we are where we are, and we are said this wasn't going to be a 1-season turnaround. But I feel like the moves they're making aren't, penny smart, dollar stupid like we've done in the past. This isn't a Tannenbaum regime. This isn't a Joe Douglas regime. I feel like they're making strategic moves to, like you said, fill out the meat in the middle of their roster. And then by year 2 or year 3, I feel like this is going to be a drastically different team, but with a drastically higher level of expectation and a higher level of talent. Like you said, Michael Clemens, is he even an NFL roster ready player anywhere else? And he's starting. I agree with you. I think that there's another move down the pike. I think they just need to see how the season plays out. But like, an obvious one was like, Keenan Allen. Why didn't we bring him in early? And look what he's doing over in San Diego. They're not San Diego anymore. LA. But the same thing, I think that there is that other bigger move that's going to come, that if they can just hang around that trade deadline, swing for somebody for, like, let's say a 4th or 5th or maybe a 3rd and a player swap, something.
Yeah.
I agree that there's another big move that they have up their sleeves, because they're oddly ignoring those 2 positions.
Yeah, they're just like I said, it's a very top heavy roster. There's a handful of very good to above average players, but just look at, I don't know, we broke camp with Xavier Gibson. He's going out to his 3rd team in 3 weeks. Like, that guy like broke camp with us. Like, he's a practice squad player. Like,
he was your number 3 receiver.
Malachi Corley was a premium draft pick for us last year. He's still on the Browns practice squad, hasn't gotten off. Like, and that's where you run into these situations where, when you don't draft, like, that 2022 draft is an all-time draft. You got, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, 2 of those guys signed second contracts, extensions. Like, but when you don't draft well in 21, 23, 24, not even at the top, I'm not even talking about your first round pick, but when you don't hit on your 3rd, 4th, 5th picks, where in the 5th you have a great swing tackle, or in the 4th you get a starting safety, or in the, the next year in the 5th round you get a starting, or even a number 3 corner, that's when your depth, you don't have it. You're bringing in guys from other teams' practice squads, or you're trading late round picks to fill holes like we are.
You're putting Band-Aids on it when you could have just done it organically, but we've always had a problem with that. Always.
Yeah, and they've tried to do it organically. They just have not drafted well. Historically, I mean, we're not breaking news here. The Jets haven't drafted well pretty much for majority of their existence. That's why you've seen so few players on second deals. Here, obviously, it's new. Yeah, like we've seen Sauce Gardner now and Garrett Wilson, but everybody was maybe a little surprised that happened, because usually you see guys asking for trades, or they trade them preemptively before those deals even end here. How many guys have you seen demand trades in their second seasons here just in the last 4 years alone? It's staggering.
Too many.
And if you really want to pull your hair out, go pull up every Jets draft from
don't do it.
From 2010 to 2021. You'd be surprised at how many guys in the first 3 rounds were out of the NFL within 2 seasons, not even on another roster.
And somebody picked 3, 4, 5 picks later are Pro Bowlers.
Yeah, so more than a few, more than
a handful.
When you have a decade plus cycle where you're just not hitting, and we've hit on first round picks, that's not crazy. Like we hit on Jamal Adams, Leonard Williams, for all intents and purposes, was a good player. Wilkerson was a good player for a while. They've hit on first round picks. It's the meat and potatoes of the draft is where you build your roster and where you accumulate good depth, and they've just been inept to the nth degree. I don't like have numbers to back that up, but I could promise you that there's Browns, Panthers, give me whatever team you want. None of them have been worse at drafting in the middle
No.
rounds than the Jets have over the last 10 years. I can promise you. And so hopefully that changes. Muji's just had his first draft. That's to be determined. But moving forward, it's going to be an onus to, fill that depth with your own guys at a cheap dollar amount that develop in your system, in your mold, the way that your coach and your coordinators want to run this thing. So, but you're seeing it now that the Jets are just lacking depth in so many key areas because they haven't been able to draft well. And
well, hopefully what we get moving forward is we keep one regime for a while. I think that's part of the issue with the Jets too, is every 3, 4, 5 years, there's a whole new clean house, a new coach, new coordinators, new offensive schemes, new GM. It's tough to have people linger around. It's tough to have, people grow within an organization when there's so much movement and so much change. I mean, like, look at the Patriots, same coach for how many years? Look at the Chiefs. Look at every good team. Steelers have had a solid, rock solid front office. And again, don't get me wrong, you're going to have stars and diamonds in the rough that are going to move on to other positions or come from somebody's tree, quote unquote. But like, you're still going to have your core. You're still going to have your GM who's been there for 20 years and can do it in his sleep because he knows exactly what Tomlin wants. Knows exactly what Andy Reid wants. Things like that. Hopefully we can get to that. Is it going to be this regime? Probably not. Maybe, but who knows? But continuity is what they need. Not just consistency on the offensive side of the ball, not just the defensive side of the ball, but they need it in the front office too. And hopefully us as Jet fans can get to experience that sometime soon.
Your lips to God ears, brother.
Damn right, baby. Come on, give me one. Give us something.
All right, before we wrap here, just quick little prediction for Monday night. I know you'll be in the house, but you feeling the first win of the Aaron Glenn regime, or
I do. I hope so.
Disappointment.
No. I think they'll win. I think it'll still be another ugly game. I think they'll win. I think it'll be like a 16-13 game that they will squeak out. It'll be one of those games where it'll be a positive by negative. We won, but the team looked like shit. We just beat a bad team. And I think the rivalry jerseys that are going on this week, I think everyone's a clean sweep. And I think it starts with the Cardinals tonight. I think they lose with those new rivalry jerseys.
Are the Jets wearing theirs on Monday too?
No, just the home game. So Dolphins
okay.
wear theirs.
So we're going to wear the black ones in December when they come, I think.
Correct.
Okay. So they're the Black Dolphins ones are sick though. I like them. They look good.
They're nice, but hopefully it's bad juju and they all lose and fuck them. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think we win. I think we win ugly fashion.
Yeah, I'm kind of same boat as you. I think it's going to be, I think you said 16-13. I think both teams are going to score because I think both defenses suck. And again, the Dolphins can do a lot of things that the Jets have a hard time stopping. But
vice versa.
But again, yeah, I think the Jets do a lot of things that the Dolphins have a hard time stopping, particularly the mobile quarterback. And assuming Fields plays, it's trending that way. As we record here, it seems like he's going to play, but that's like far from a definitive at this point.
Right.
But I think it even beyond like a talent standpoint scheme, it feels like the Dolphins are in a very
dark place,
pivotal, fragile state of their franchise right now, where like this win could be it for McDaniel. Like it feels like it could be like primetime division rival. Jets are 0-3.
Second primetime game in a row too.
Yeah, and if you can't get your first win here to turn this thing around, like when is it happening?
Right.
And it just seems like as each week goes by, his press conferences get a little bit more
chippier,
like weird. Just a weird dude. He's always been a weird dude, but like I think he's like leaning into the weird thing at this point. But it just seems like the locker room is in a super fragile state. Tua is getting a defensive today. I watched some of his press conference, chipping back at Cam Newton's comments, and it's just a very like hostile kind of environment. And I think that the Jets have an opportunity to go in there
and take advantage of that.
Maybe they're not the more talented team, but they're in a better place, I think, as a unit, as a franchise, than maybe Miami is right now.
You could argue the Dolphins need the win more than the Jets do.
I think that's 100, because who cares if the Jets lose? They're going to wake up 0-4 and they're going to go into week 5, whatever.
But nothing else is changing.
Aaron Glenn could go 0-17 this year. He's not going to get fired this year. Like, the coach is pretty much playing for his job. Tyreek Hill can go nuclear at any second. I mean, he already has a couple times in the last year. I mean, Tyreek Hill feels like he has the potential to be like Antonio Brown, where like he just takes his shirt off and like walks off the field,
runs off,
and you never see him again. Like, he feels like he has the potential to be that.
Remember who Antonio Brown did that against?
Yeah, it was the Jets. I was there.
The Jets. Maybe we see that this week. Maybe I was at the game too. Maybe I see this one too.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to do something to that effect. But like, I could just see him like sending out a tweet after the game saying like, trade me now, like I'm out of here, because he has done that before. Like, I got to get out of here. Like,
and then he goes back to the Chiefs, and then the Chiefs turn around and win Super Bowl again.
Yeah. So the Dolphins feel vulnerable, but I do think it's going to be high scoring again. I mean, the Jets have scored a lot of points in both games that they've been in. If they win, I could see them pulling out like a 28-21, 28-24 kind of win.
Yeah.
I think if the defense though gives up over 30, I don't think they win this game. Like, they need to keep somebody under like 25 points for a change. Like, and even giving up 24 is a lot, but
you can't give up 300-yard passing to Tua tomorrow.
Yeah, they can't give up 300 yards. They can't give up 150 to Achan. They can't give up 30 points. If they're going to win this game, they got to keep it under 24 under to. I would think be in a position to win this game. But
I agree.
I think they're going to be able to move the ball a little bit. Hopefully, a week off, Fields watching and having a clear mind. Hopefully they can put up 3 or 4 touchdowns, couple on the ground, and kind of get back to what they want to do, get back to what they want their identity to be. So, I think I'd be a little surprised if the Jets don't win, just given the urgency that I hope they're going to play with to get their first win in a division game. The schedule, I think, is, the mental hurdle of starting a year with 3 straight, teams that have the potential to go to the championship game, I think is behind them now. You have a softer landing, and I hope they go into that with some, sense of urgency and play that way. So,
agreed.
We'll see what happens, but. Enjoy the game on Monday, my friend. Send us picks and
send us some good vibes. That's what I'm talking about.
Hopefully it's another Jets. Not another. Hopefully we get our first Jets win here on Monday, guys.
Hope it's a good game. Yeah, I think we will. I think we're going to be in good shape.
All right. Well, you take it easy, Spiga. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the game Monday, and we'll chat next week. See what happened.
Let's go, baby. Jet up.
All right, jet up, man.